Metalheads. All right, Chance is going to give me the finger here, and we're live now. Yay for Mark's editing. Welcome back, Metalheads. Thank you so much for joining us on our second episode of Full Metal Melting Pot. I got some of our mainstays here, and we got a new person on our panel today. We're going to talk to some stuff. Rene and Chance, you guys are back from our first episode. And Jeremy, thanks so much for coming into this one. I hope that you have a good time. Every single person on this panel has already seen Infinity War, so I'm going to start off right now that this is a heavy spoiler, not a review of sorts, but a heavily spoiler discussion on Infinity War. And then we're going to get into some next week stuff, which is Deadpool 2. So right now, I'll start off with everybody's opening thoughts on how they like. Start with RJ.
I hate how much I love this movie. Like,
it did great in the words.
It breaks your heart in all the right ways. That ending physically made me sick. It really did, in a good way. Like, I literally could not take it because this is spoilers, right?
It's spoilers.
Okay,
Let her out.
Not surprised when everyone started disappearing. But as soon as they got to Spider-Man, I was like, no. And as a man who also fears death, like, very highly, just hearing a kid begging to not be taken away, oh my God, it was just like, I want to save him. I want to save him so bad. Please stop this. Like, it got to the point where I was like, please just disappear, because I'm tired of you talking about not disappearing. It was, oh my God. It was so, I have never sat in a movie where for 10 minutes in a full theater, there was nothing but silence. I am talking like, you could have definitely heard a pin drop. The only thing that was heard is right after Spider-Man disappears, someone in the theater was just like, that was it. Like, no one reacted to it. Everyone just let it happen, but it was dead silent. Other than that ending, this movie was so good. I mean, just hats off to the Russo brothers again for taking something that could have been a complete mess and making one of the best MCU movies out of it. I mean, this easily makes my top 5. It is definitely fighting for a top 3 spot, and maybe we'll have to watch it a third time before I make that final decision. I've seen it twice already, and I still wasn't ready for that ending. I still wasn't ready for it. I still almost teared up for Spider-Man. But
Yes.
this movie was just, from beginning to end, kept me at the edge of my seat. I never like was tired of what was going on. A lot of people didn't like the quick changes between everything. That's what kept me in the movie, because there was never a time to relax. It was, now we're back to something else. Now we're with this team. Now we're with this team. Now we're with Thanos. Now we're back to them. Now we're back. So it kept me in the loop, and I just, like, I could go on about this movie, but I'm gonna let other people talk about it. But it was great. It was great. But screw that ending. It hurt my heart.
Awesome. Thanks, RJ. Appreciate that. No, I think your comments are going to be echoed quite a few times in this conversation. But let's go to Jeremy next, our newest panelist on here, and find out what he thought about Avengers: Infinity War.
I loved Avengers: Infinity War. I'm not the biggest geek of our group, but I've seen every MCU movie, and they're great films. These guys never miss. And this movie, you could say this about a lot of their films, but it could have gone wrong in so many ways, and it just hit the target. Like, for one thing, originally when they first announced it, it was Infinity War Part 1, and then they changed it to just Infinity War, but I still kind of had it in my head that it was going to be like a Deathly Hallows or a Mockingjay thing where this would be the first part and then there'd be the second part.
Except stuff happened in this one.
Yeah, and I guess in a sense it is, because it is the first part really of what's going to come. But for me, it didn't feel like that. It didn't feel like Deathly Hallows where you're cutting in the middle of the story. This felt like a complete film with the beginning, middle, and end. And yeah, the end is a killer, but it's a definitive end because... Really? I mean, it's a killer literally and emotionally, but you know what you did. This movie, I mean, if you really think of it on a story level, it is the story of Thanos, his arc. This is a character who has a mission that he sets out to accomplish, and he accomplishes that mission, and in the end, he sits down, breathes a sigh of relief, relaxes, he's accomplished his mission. It's a complete story. It doesn't feel like Hunger Games or Harry Potter, where we're cutting in the middle of something. It is a complete story, and then we'll get a second complete story to follow up to that. And I thought that was so brilliant. And to echo what RJ said, like I thought, they obviously had the monumental task of balancing all these characters. And I would have liked a little more of some, maybe a little less of others, but for the most part, they balanced it really well. I liked the particular combinations that they had, and I thought the editing in between really worked for the most part. I know some people have said, look, if you haven't been following this series, if you don't know these characters, you're not going to, be as invested because you don't get full arcs for all these characters. And I can flat out tell you that's wrong, because I went with my wife and she has seen some of the MCU movies, but she hasn't seen the Guardians films. She hasn't seen any of the Thor films. She hasn't seen Ant-Man. And she was never lost. She didn't really know the Guardians crew, but their personalities are so distinct that she caught up with it right away. And obviously she understood, she knew Thor from the Avengers movies. So she was able to follow that, thread for the most part. So I think even if you haven't seen everything, the characters in themselves are strong. And even though they might not have full arcs, their personalities are so strong, and they each have specific roles to play in the story. And I think it really, really worked for me. And I'm not a big comics guy, but one of the comics I really made sure that I read was the Infinity Gauntlet comic from back in the 90s. And the thing is, Thanos does the snap. He snaps his finger in that comic, and half of everybody goes away. And I knew it had to happen. There's no way it couldn't happen. They wouldn't be being faithful to that story if it didn't happen. So I was anticipating it. The details surprised me, but I knew it was going to happen. But the real question is what happened, how they're going to play it next, because the characters that did survive are different than the ones that survived in the comics, and it's definitely going to play out differently. And I'm really excited.
Awesome, great insight there, Jeremy. Yeah, you touched on something that I'm going to save for my surprises conversation when we get to that part. But Chance, you were here with me and RJ last time when we were making all of our predictions. What did you think about the movie?
Yeah, well, first of all, I do want to go back to at some point see how many of those I got right. But no, yeah, same thing with these two guys. I love the movie. I've loved both the Avengers movies so far. I know I like Age of Ultron a lot more than most people.
I like it,
but I think this was the darker, deeper Avengers follow-up that I think so many of us have wanted for such a long time, or especially this is the follow-up we've wanted since the first Avengers came out. I love all the dynamics between so many different characters, so many cool different accommodations, dynamics that the balance of the movie, how they did it really well. Great balance of humor and dramatics. Thanos, look, Marvel, I think has ever since Ego, I think Marvel has been killing it with their villains. And Thanos is the epicenter of that. The dude's an awesome villain, and only one more thing could have made him even more badass, and that's the voice of James Earl Jones. But even so, I thought Josh Brolin was amazing in this movie. I thought Thanos was awesome, and it really did a good job putting you in the point of view of that villain character. I like that it had stakes, and yeah, on the ending. Well, the first time I saw that movie, it was 9:30 on Friday in IMAX, and as soon as that happened, the entire theater, just like RJ, the entire theater just you can feel the air just leave the theater, and just the uncertainty of whether or not the heroes we've come to know and love are, we don't know how it's going to turn out for them. I think, we don't know for sure. But yeah, like that ending, and coupled with Thanos sitting on his farm, he should have been in like a rocking chair, piece of wheat in his mouth, nice straw hat. But no, yeah, like I love every frame of this movie. I saw it twice, 2 days in a row, and I really do want to see it again because I am a big comics fan, and this is everything. When I read the Infinity War and the Infinity Gauntlet comics, like this is what I envisioned that movie would be like in this universe. And yeah, it checked every box for me personally.
Awesome. Awesome. Those are the great insight there, Chance. I appreciate your comments. I'll give you my quick thoughts on this one, and then we'll just jump into the next the next spot.
Sandy hated it.
I love this movie. I didn't. There wasn't a second. RJ said something earlier about the pacing and how some people had an issue with it. I didn't. This. As an MCU fan, as a comic book fan, as this space type space, I love the fact that I had to pay attention. That I couldn't just sit there and like just drift away and just love the spectacle at all. I love that I had to be looking around and seeing who was where and seeing what was doing what and where they were going and how they were going to connect this to that and to that. So I thought that was fantastic. I saw it late on Friday as well. When I bought my ticket, I was only the third person that had bought their ticket. But by the time I got there, it took me a half an hour just to get my popcorn. It was quite packed. People didn't have the same reactions that I had through it. I audibly cheered and clapped in certain places. Nobody said anything or anything like that, which was great. Peter dying at the end of it. I won't lie. I had tears coming down. I wasn't flat out blubbering, but tears were coming down my eyes. I thought it was one of the most emotional scenes out of all of the MCU, period. You had mentor and mentoree holding one another while one was disappearing. It was absolutely heartbreaking. But that was the beauty of the movie, that just like, and I'll use the comparison to Empire Strikes Back, just like in Empire, people walked out of the theater and people were actually saying this as they were walking out of the theater. No way. Like, no way.
Yeah.
Like, no way. And I'm sitting back going, yeah, way. You guys, yeah, like that's what happened. So I'm very excited. The post-credit scene was probably one of the best post-credit scenes that Marvel has ever released. Just to see what happened to the two people in question, and then to see what we wanted to see at the end, which was that pager. Can you believe a pager? But that all ties into it because, of course, Captain Marvel's taking place in the 1990s, and guess what was prevalent in the 90s? Pagers. So that was something extra special. My theater was absolutely pissed off at the ending. They were yelling and screaming and just then walking towards the door. Half the people left, and I kept on telling everybody in front of me, "Don't go, don't go. You're gonna miss something. Don't go." And they're like, "Nah, it's not coming. They're not." And I was like, "All right." But for the 3 or 4 kids that sat in front of me that stayed and listened to me, they turned around and they all said, "Sandy, thank you." Or they said, "Sandy," or they said, "Thank you so much for letting us see that. We don't know what it means, but we're so happy we stayed." So those are my thoughts on it. I think that the Russo brothers absolutely popped it out of the park. They took a huge swing, and it paid off like you wouldn't believe. So without further ado, let's move on to our topic, that one of the topics that we touched on the last melting pot, which was the box office. So we got the box office results back, and domestically, this monster of a movie did almost exactly what we expected it to do. It crushed over 250 million, and I had mentioned something the last time that this was one of the very few movies that was opening up in all markets on its opening weekend, and I was 100% wrong. It will not open in China until this weekend. and that's gonna change the numbers significantly because it's going to absolutely destroy in China.
Yeah.
But we got a total of 258 million worldwide or domestically, and we had a worldwide total. And I believe I was the closest one on this particular one. I know we've got a battle going for the domestic, but right now, $630 million worldwide in a 3-day weekend because they did not count the Thursday opening. So that is amazing. That is unbelievable. It is now the record holder across the board. So I'm going to ask two parts of this question. A, were you surprised with the box office, both domestic and worldwide? And what do you think it's going to close at?
Ooh.
And is there anything that's going to beat it this year or ever?
Ever?
Yeah, and I'm going to start with Chance on this one.
Oh. Well, yeah, like we all knew we all knew this movie was going to do gangbusters. It's just a matter of how many gangs was going to bust. And I believe I was the closest, if I'm not mistaken. I said 260 domestic, and I said like 600 internationally. Even without China, that's impressive. When it comes out in China, that's gonna be a monster hit. Like I guarantee you, as soon as it hits China, it's gonna cross $1 billion. I promise you that.
So I think just for the record, I think you and I picked 260.
Okay.
260. I think RJ picked 265.
No, I said 275. I swung for the
fences. Did you say 275?
I said 275, but I'm just glad I still beat Mark because he pulled that bitch price.
That's right, and it was right.
He went higher.
It was Mark that
by
went,
$1 billion. Pull a bitch ass move.
Yeah.
That's what he gets.
That's right. But because he did that, because he went 261, Mark actually didn't beat Chance or I because we came closer than anything. But
no, he lost to all of us because he went higher than me. He said 276.
He did. He said 276.
You're 76. Okay.
Yeah,
Perfect.
Hit a deal.
Take that shit back to Atlanta because you lost.
And I believe that I had picked 600 million for the worldwide box office, and then it went over at 630. So go ahead, Chance. Keep on going there. Sorry to break it up for you.
No, it's all right. But based on your second question was what's it going to cap off at? What you said?
Yeah. What do you think it's going to make in its run?
Okay. Looking at, I need to bring up the highest grossing totals of all the movies.
Yeah. 2.6 for Avatar.
I think there's a solid chance this goes for $2 billion. I really think that's in the cards. I don't think it's going to make Avatar money, but there's a very real possibility that it does pass Force Awakens. So I'll say 2.1 billion.
All right, I'm keeping track of this now. 2.1. All right. And is there anything in the future that you think is coming close?
Like as far as this year, or just like period?
I'm gonna go this year or ever. Like, is there a movie? And like we all know that. Yeah, it's gonna go up and stuff like that. So let's just cap it to up to 2020. So anything that's
okay,
coming,
no, that's fine. That's fine.
Year or the next.
This year, no. I think this is going to be the highest grossing movie of the year, no question. As far as ever, though, there are two movies I think that could pass it, and they both belong to the same company. It's going to be either it could be either Episode 9 or it could be Avengers 4, one which I believe come out the same year. Which one of those two had the potential to pass it?
Nice. All right, perfect. Let's go over to Jeremy now. Jeremy, what did you think about the box office, and what did you got? What do you got for a final theatrical run box office, Max? And what do you got beating it?
Okay, I probably, like, to go back, I think I would have guessed 250 for the opening weekend. I don't think I would have gone higher than that.
Nice.
So I would have been pretty close.
Yep.
Worldwide numbers I get a little confused on, so I'm not quite sure what I would have said. But yeah, for the domestic, I'm sorry. it's like $1.5 billion or so. What's the highest so far?
Oh, the
The
highest?
highest
2
domestic?
In domestic?
Oh, no, not domestic. No,
Yeah.
domestic is...
Domestic, I think, is $1 billion.
Just
Because
over-
Force
just
Awakens
over
is
$1
the only way to make $1 billion.
Right.
Yeah, just over $1 billion.
I think it's going to cross $1 billion. I think it's actually. I do think it's going to. Yeah, I think it's going to cross $1 billion. I don't know. I mean, if Force Awakens made that much, I think this will, honestly, because people are going to keep going back.
Yeah.
Worldwide, yeah, I don't quite have it crossing Avatar, but it's gonna cross $2 billion. So I'm kind of right there with you, Chance.
I'm amazed. I just looking at the chart. I'm amazed how much Avatar made.
Yeah, that is still kind of
It's
mind
just-
blowing, but you know,
Yeah,
it
it
what
is.
it is. But in any case, I mean, a lot of the 3D, more people saw that in 3D. You know, I think a lot of people aren't seeing these movies in 3D, so I guess that's a part of it. But
James Cameron,
it's like
he's cheating, man. He's cheating.
yeah, yeah, of course. But yeah, I think part 2 is probably going to beat it of Infinity War Part 2. Yeah, maybe just barely. And I think Episode 9 probably will too. So I think we're going to see, like, this is just going to start an upward swing, you know. So I think that movies are going to start, you know, the certain movies, the ones like this that, you know, really have built on something are going to continue to earn more and more. But I think this is going to spike really high, and I think it's going to start an upward swing with this franchise and with other big ones like this that are doing so well.
Awesome. Perfect, dude. No, that's great. All right. I'll go next. I'll leave RJ for last on this one. Just to give him a little
Oh
bit
boy.
Okay, so I like I said, I wasn't surprised with the box office because of course we talked about it and we were all sitting around the same numbers for it. I was, however, a little surprised with the worldwide box office total, you know, crossing over the 630 without China in the mix. Like I said earlier, I thought that was a guarantee that it was going to open up at the same time. That number is just going to absolutely explode it. So I'm actually going to pick this one to get closer to Avatar than anything has before, and I'm going to predict it stops its theatrical run at $2.5 billion.
Makes sense.
What do I have beating it? Okay, I don't have anything this year. Nothing.
No, not this year.
This year, the only thing that's got an outside chance of, I don't even think it'll be the third highest grossing movie of the year. I think that's going to stay at. I think that's going to stay Infinity War. I think it's going to stay Black Panther. But I think the one that has an outside shot, depending on how people go and receive it and word of mouth, is Solo. I think people are sleeping on it a little bit. I think it's going to be a great movie, but nothing this year. And depending on how Solo does is going to depend on what Episode 9 does. So I just because of how people thought of and the trailers, whatever the trailers are released for Episode 9 will definitely hold some type of candle of how it's gonna play out monetarily. But I do honestly believe that the only movie that's going to beat it, if it beats it at all, is going to be Infinity War Part 2 or whatever they're going to call it. But that one, and the only reason I think it might have a real chance is because the same deal with Black Panther coming out that got everybody so hyped up for Infinity War Part 1. We're getting Captain Marvel first before we get Infinity War Part 2. So that's going to be a huge jumping off point. And if Captain Marvel crushes, which it should, then Infinity War Part 2 is going to do the exact same thing. So that's my prediction. RJ, you get the last word on this section.
All right. So, yeah, this thing is a domestic monster. I'm on Box Office Mojo right now. It's already made another almost 50 million just in the couple of days outside of the weekend.
Nope.
It is sitting right now, as of yesterday night, at 306 million domestically, 808 million worldwide. So this thing's obviously gonna pass $1 billion before its theatrical run is over. It'll probably even hit $1 billion worldwide by next weekend, to be totally honest. I don't doubt that at all. But I definitely see this thing. I actually agree with you. I'm going with 2.5. I'm going with 2.5 billion for how it's going to end. Beating it, once again, let the haters come, but I think everyone overestimates episode 9. I don't think episode 9 is going to touch it. I really don't. Like, in my mind, the only one that has the possibility to touch it is his successor, and that is Avengers 4. Just like you said, with the buildup that is going to happen, like you said, we got Black Panther before Infinity War, and that was a 3-month deficit between the two. Captain Marvel is going to be 2 months. Not only that post-credit scene for Captain Marvel is more than likely going to directly tie in to Avengers 4. Not like Black Panther, where we got a nice little nod to Winter Soldier. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen Black Panther either, obviously.
Yeah.
But, you get that nice little Bucky tease at the end to show, like, hey, he is here, and he's going to be back. You've already seen the Infinity War trailers. You know he's back. But Captain Marvel's post-credit scene is probably, I don't know, we might talk about this later, but I am betting money that Captain Marvel's post-credit scene is her on the other side of that beeper. Is her getting that page.
That is really smart.
I'm pretty sure that's exactly what Captain Marvel's post-credit scene is going to be. Whether it be the mid-credit or the end credit, that's what it's going to be. I have no doubt in my mind. I would legitimately put money on that is her post-credit scene, is her getting that page.
It'd be a missed opportunity if they didn't do that.
Exactly. So 2.5 billion is where this is going to end. Avengers 4 to me is the only movie that will probably touch it in the coming years, in the near future.
If I could just say a couple things, I think Infinity War 2 is going to do better than Episode 9 for sure. In any case, and also
respect the Russos. It is not Infinity War Part 2. It is not
whatever they decide to call
it. Whatever.
They made the choice to change the titles. Respect it.
I'm just talking in shorthand, RJ. And the other thing I want to say is I think something else is going to beat Solo. I think Jurassic World's going to beat it.
Oh yeah.
Oh no, you're nuts. Well, we can talk about that later.
Chance. I think Solo is not going to be a very good movie, and I think people are going to be wise to it.
I'll make another bet. I've already bet one non-believer.
Jurassic World, the first one made a lot of money.
But we're not going to get ahead of ourselves on Solo.
That'll be another discussion.
Our next discussion, exactly. So don't you guys worry about that. So Jeremy, I did hear you say something in there, and I just wanted to make sure that I made a note of it. Are you agreeing with RJ and I that it's going to be around the $2.5 billion mark?
I'll say 2.4. How's that?
2.4?
So I'm
going on again.
I'm following this one.
Yeah, he just marked us again, RJ.
He just marked you.
Got marked again.
Somebody has to be the mark today.
That's right. All right, guys. So we've gone over the box office. We've gone over our basic reaction to the movie. What I want to talk about next is what were the surprises that you guys saw that you weren't expecting that really affected you throughout the entire movie. Chance, we're going to go to you to start this one off.
I think biggest surprise for me, hands down, happened on Vormir. Like when you see that this cloaked ghostly figure, and you just hear that voice, I was kind of like, that's kind of like Hugo Weaving. And then he emerged from the shadows, and Red Skull comes back. I was like, holy shit.
Wow.
But that shocked me so much just because I know just how Hugo Weaving did not want to come back to that role. I was like, how did they get him back? They just back up like a dump truck full of money to his house.
They didn't, right?
No, they didn't.
It was
the guy from The Walking Dead.
Yeah, that's Ross McQuan, who's a great actor and a really fantastic impressionist. But I was cool. I was convinced that was Hugo Weaving. Yeah. But yeah, like Red Skull showing up at the end because I know you weren't, but I was because ever since the ending of First Avenger, all of us just wondering what happened to Red Skull? Like where has he been all this time? And we find out that's where he's been. He's been the guardian of the Soul Stone, the guardian of the knowledge. But yeah, like the biggest surprise for me, hands down, was seeing Red Skull again, because
Awesome.
I didn't think we'd ever see that dude ever again.
I'm not going to disagree with you on that one at all, dude. All right, RJ, you're itching, you're chomping at the bit there. Go ahead, buddy. Your biggest surprises.
It's tied for 2.
Ooh.
One was Gamora. Oh my god! But like, it's not that I didn't see it coming. Like, at a point you saw it coming, but it wasn't until that point that you had to accept, like, oh my god, Mark was right. that was
God help us.
That was Mark's big prediction that threw all of us for a loop about who his number 1 choice was, who made it out of it. And out of all the actual Avengers, one of the first ones to actually die, not dusted, die, was Gamora. And that was like, wow. But it was needed. I hate saying that. I don't mean to sound like a douche. But it was needed to further the plot. Because it made you feel it. It made you realize how much of a douche Thanos really was. Like, it gave him that slight bit of humanity, but then you were like, but you were still the ultimate douche. Like, there's no one who can stop this guy now if he was willing to do that to the one person he loved. Second is who actually got dusted. Just as the people started to disappear, I was just like, I'm pretty sure every person who disappeared, I was like, like, I was reacting every time to, like, who was leaving. I mean, they left Rocket alone. Rocket is the only Guardian left. What is this? I mean, technically, we'll do that later. But what? Every single Guardian is gone. That was crazy. Oh, and man, they got me with Black Panther, though.
Yeah,
I totally thought it was going to be Okoye. I totally thought they were setting it up like, oh, he's going to try to lift her and her arm's going to disappear. Nope. They did the exact opposite.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Bless you.
Can I say that was the moment in the movie where all the black people just went crazy?
I don't know. It was still really quiet in my movie theater, so I'm not sure. But man, that just took me for, because I was wondering how they were going to do it. I was like, is he just going to snap his finger and people are going to be gone? Or are we going to, like, do what that happened? And then, of course, they did it like that. Then, of course, I believe it was Bucky first. Buck, I just saw it the other day.
Bucky was first.
Yeah, so Bucky was first, and that was already like, wow. Like, you just did that in front of Captain America again.
And he got his brand new arm. I mean, dang.
He's gone. But yeah, those were the biggest surprises for me. That was just, I mean, like, Red Skull was cool, but like I said, it was just, it was, for me, I really loved First Avengers, so the fact that it wasn't Hugo Weaving really hurt my heart.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Awesome. Those are great, RJ. Great. Thanks very much. Jeremy. All right, buddy. Let's hear your biggest surprises.
Well, look, like I said, I was anticipating the snap. So I knew a lot of characters, like half the characters were going to go. So, I mean, even though the specifics were a little shocking, I wasn't really that surprised with any of it. I also anticipated that, you know, like later on in the movie, some major characters were going to go in the main plot, like what we got with Gamora. So I anticipated all of that. What I didn't anticipate is that we would lose a major character right in the beginning of the film, and that it would be brutal, and his eyes would almost pop out of his head in the first 10 minutes of the movie when Loki dies. That kind of got me right off, and I was in disbelief, like he's not actually dead, and I still kind of don't really believe that he's dead, but I think he might be, maybe he is. So that to me was the thing that really caught me off guard more than anything else. The Red Skull thing really surprised me too, but it was more like more than it was a, oh crap,
exactly.
You know?
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
So yeah, for me it was Loki because I wasn't expecting it right up top like that.
Nice. That's a great one. You actually took one of mine, so it was
Okay.
that's all right. No, that was
I mean, if he had died an hour in, then yeah. But just the fact that it was at the beginning.
well, and the fact that I had predicted during our first melting pot that Loki was going to join the Black Order or the Black Knights, and
they kind of toy with you. Think
and they
he's going
toy with
to.
He almost
Yeah.
did. He almost did.
and the ballsy way he went out.
Yeah.
If Tom Hiddleston never comes back to the MCA whatsoever, I give him a resounding applause for his acting because that was absolutely fantastic. All right, great choices, Jer. My choices for the biggest surprises. I'll start with the first one that I was super surprised with was how effing powerful Thor is and how unbelievably powerful he is with Stormbreaker.
Holy shit.
Are you kidding me? Like, he stood in the path of a dying star's laser beam, took it, went down. Groot chops off an arm to give the handle because Peter Dinklage doesn't apparently know where any of his crap is in that little place, and makes Stormbreaker, and then Thor wrecks shop. He goes down and owns faces like nobody's business, and I was just, my eyes, that was one of my yes moments in the theater, because when he dropped down, I was just like, you've got to be kidding me. No way. And I mean, you should have went for the head, because told them if you'd have gone for the head, you'd have won. You'd have been done.
How many times, by the way, have we heard that the other way in like action movies where it's the hero, you should have shot me in the head, and the hero takes the bad guy out? The way that they flip that so that it's the villain doing all of the things that the hero usually does is quite brilliant.
So then that brings me to my next shocking moment, and not a lot of people caught it, or not a lot of people are talking about it, but it really shocked me. Was you should have gone for the head, snaps his fingers, and the glove looks like it breaks or shatters or crushes or loses its power. And that was one of the most shocking things that I didn't expect whatsoever, because the gauntlet is made to be indestructible. The gems are indestructible.
I actually kind of have a theory about that.
Okay.
But I'll get to it after your thing. But I kind of have a theory about that.
Yeah, so that one was shocking to me. I didn't think that the glove could actually be destroyed, but I think I know where RJ's going, because I thought about it too. And my last thing was just from a production standpoint, and I know we've talked about some of the people that had got dusted at the end after the snap. I wish they'd went a different way. I wish that they wouldn't have gotten rid of Peter. I wish they wouldn't have gotten rid of Black Panther. Because, and only because, and I know that they were emotional, but if you get rid of Captain America or Black or Scarlet Witch or whoever else, and you leave Spider-Man and you leave Black Panther alone, well, we know that those two already have sequels coming. We know that those are already there. So if you leave them alive, people are then going to go, oh shit, everybody's dead. Because the ones that have sequels are still alive. But now that you've killed the ones that you now have sequels to, you just kind of throw your hands up and go, okay, well, that kind of was pointless, because we know they're coming back in some way or form, right? So that was a shock to me. I thought that they would be a little bit more foresightful with that in there. But those were the three big shock me moments. I mean, Thanos and Gamora. I thought it really humanized Thanos a little bit, because he had that tear, and Gamora's like, what? He's crying and she's laughing, and the Red Skull was like, he's not, that tear's not for him. And then you're like, oh, damn. And then it happens. So I think Loki and I think Gamora. Who is the last? Does anybody know who the other person that died before the snap, like the main character that died?
Heimdall.
Heimdall.
Yeah,
Heimdall. I think Gamora, Heimdall, and Loki are done.
I don't think so on Gamora, but
You don't
we
think
could
so,
get,
eh?
no,
Really?
They have an easy cop out. They have
because
an easy
Red
cop out.
Skull was captured inside one of the Infinity Stones, and I think that Gamora's like essence was taken into the Soul Stone.
Oh, you're right. You could be right on that one.
Yeah.
You could be right. RJ, you had an opinion?
No, I agree. I agree with him. I kind of they have that cop out of like
Yeah, they
Gamora
already set a
trapped
precedent for it.
in the Soul Stone.
Yeah, they already set a precedent for it because it was the price of him obtaining the Soul Stone was giving her so she can come back when it's taken from him.
Okay. No, that's a plausible theory. Okay. Any last thoughts on the surprises? Anybody got any extras they might have thought about?
I'm just itching to refute. Like, the only thing is, you got to understand, there's a lot of kids going to see this movie, and you don't want to destroy the kids' world. So I think making the choice to have it be Spider-Man and Black Panther, so that we can say, oh, they're going to be back. They're going to have other movies. You know, Timmy, it's all going to be okay. Spider-Man will come back. They're going to have
Why won't they think about the children?
Yeah, I think that's why they did it, and I'm okay with that.
Perfect.
So my theory about the Gauntlet is I just think I've always been under the assumption that, because I don't read a lot of comics, but I've always been under the assumption that the Gauntlet can let you use the Infinity Stones one at a time. But if you try to use all of them, I mean, that's a lot of power. And I was under the impression that when he snapped, he used all their powers combined, and that glove was just like, I'm done.
His arm blows off.
Yeah,
it's not how it was in the original Infinity Gauntlet comic, but it seems to be something like that now.
That's what and see, I didn't know that. I just always thought that was a thing of like, oh man, he overloaded it. Like, he overloaded the glove because he used every single stone at the same time. Because the entire movie, he was just using them one by one.
I'll just be really curious to see if the person that gets it away from him in the comic is the one that does it in the movie.
I don't think so. I think they're saving him for 3. I think they're saving him from Guardians 3.
And that
the person, who knows who it was in the original comic?
And that is the perfect segue into
me
starting off. What's next? So what's next is we're going to talk about what's going to go on next in the next episode of our Friendly Neighborhood Avengers. I am going to just do a small little bit of what I think may have happened to the glove. You guys made up some good points, but as you were talking, I thought of something else. What if Peter Dinklage's character made a really crappy glove and gave it to him just because he was, being forced to?
Yeah.
And now the stones can't be used at all. They're not broken because they can't be destroyed. But he can't use them. He can't use them in the glove anymore because the glove was shoddy or made to break, after being used or when they all use it. So that's just an outside theory, but let's start off here with me, what I think is going to happen next, and then we'll go back down to the rest of the thing. I think that we're going to see some big, stuff. I don't think that we're going to, I don't think that the necessarily the next Marvel movie that's going to come out, which is Ant-Man and the Wasp, is going to have anything to do with it. Maybe a post-credit scene.
Dude, I got one for y'all.
Maybe a post-credit scene into Captain Marvel or something like that, or a backtrack of something like that to give Captain Marvel. I think the biggest amount of stuff we're going to get to see is going to be in the Captain Marvel movie. I am hoping that we see Adam Warlock. For anybody who does not know who Adam Warlock is, go read a comic. You'll find out. I would recommend going to your local comic store or bookstore and buying the graphic novel Infinity Gauntlet. It will give you all 7 episodes, issues in it, and give you the whole story. And Adam Warlock is legit one of the most important things. Same with Silver Surfer, and he is now in play, people, because as we know, Fox and Marvel have come to their agreement, and we're going to see that happen soon. So I think we're going to see a lot of stuff in Captain Marvel that is going to directly affect us for Infinity War 2 or the next Avengers movie, whatever the Russos want to call it. The continuation of this particular storyline. but I'd love to hear what you guys think. Jeremy, let's talk to you first on this one. What do you think's coming up?
Well, like I said, in the original comic, the person that got the gauntlet away from Thanos was Nebula.
Yep.
And I don't know if that's going to happen. I think that would be pretty interesting. But, you know, I think it'll probably just be better if they've set up. The awesome thing that they set up is that the original Avengers team from the first Avengers is the team that survived. And these are the ones. And I think that, you know, they've got to do a thing where, yeah, we know that this is going to get undone. I mean, there's no way, like you said, with Spider-Man and Black Panther, you know, they're going to have sequels. They're big. They're not just going to get rid of those characters. So it's going to get undone. But to have it get undone, there's going to have to be a cost. And so I agree with people that say that both Captain America and Tony are going. I think that Tony and Cap don't make it out. And I think it might even be more. I think it could even be maybe Hawkeye too. So I think there is going to be a big cost.
Not Arrow guy.
Not Arrow guy. You know, those throw him in there. I like Hawkeye. I love Hawkeye. I'm hoping that he's in Ant-Man and the Wasp because they say he was like doing some side thing that was connected to them. So I'm hoping to see him there. I think that'd be cool. But
no secret, he's not even in the movie.
Yeah, exactly. Man, that was a heck of a vacation we took, honey. We missed a lot. But in any case, yeah, so I think there's going to be a cost. And, I don't know. Maybe it is something still like Nebula or somebody gets it, you know, and she has it for like a second in the thing, and then they get it off of her. So it could be something like that. I think that'd be kind of cool. It was the way that they did it in the comic. It was so Gollum-like she gets it like Gollum destroying the ring, like that sort of thing. So I always like that kind of thing where it's some lesser character, like a weaker character that is the key to everything. So something like that would be cool. And yeah, I'm hoping that I've always loved the character of Adam Warlock. I loved the way that he played into the comics, so I'd love to see that character. I'm expecting big things from Captain Marvel. I think, you know, that movie is going to really be the key to a lot, and I'm excited to see it.
Nice. No, those are great predictions. Everything can come true on that one. Let's go to RJ. RJ, what do you think?
Man, so much can happen. Like, we don't even know. Like it's Infinity War all over again. We don't even know, like, where. But I do have a couple of, like, not really predictions for the movie itself, but how we're going to lead into it. Of course, you already heard me with Captain Marvel. I am hands down, that is her post-credit scene, is her getting that page from Earth, knowing that she has to go back. And for all we know, when she is like getting that page, it's happening around her too. People are disappearing and she doesn't know what's up, and she sees that page like, apparently it's got something to do with Earth. I'm out of here.
Nice.
And then also, I think Ant-Man and the Wasp is going to end very dark. I think their post-credit scene is going to be the same. I think their post-credit scene is all their family and friends disappearing around them. That's
his daughter disappears.
So you think
Yeah,
it happens before the snap and ends with the snap. That would make sense.
Yeah, like all that movie is happening before the snap, then like the post-credit scene is like maybe a couple of weeks or a month later. Like it's not gonna happen during the time. But like then we're gonna catch up to the Infinity War thing. They're wondering what they should do. All of a sudden, Hank Pym, Jane Van Dyne, his daughter, his ex, his friends, I think everyone is just going to disappear around Ant-Man and the Wasp. It's just going to be them left. And they're just going to be like, what do we do? Like, it's just going to catch them up to Infinity War. It's going to catch them up to Part 4.
Yeah, because technically Ant-Man and the Wasp happens pretty much right after Civil War. So
yeah. Exactly.
Whereas the events of Infinity War happened about a year or so after it. So they got some time to catch up, but I think you're I think those predictions are pretty spot on.
But I do have one for the movie itself, and this is mainly more because of the recent Ant-Man and Wasp trailer we got, which was amazing. I don't care what anybody says. I'm so excited for that movie. But I really think this whole time traveling thing that these like leaked photos from the Avengers set are like kind of hinting at, with Ant-Man being with Tony Stark, which looks like in the Battle of New York with Captain America in his original uniform and completely shaved. I honestly think they're going to take the barf from Civil War and somehow mold that technology with the quantum realm, and that's how they are going to travel through time. They're going to travel through time through the quantum realm, because it looks like in Ant-Man and the Wasp, they're going to go into exploring the quantum realm, and I think they're going to find a way to use that to go through time. And the barf is going to be like the navigation system. They're going to find a memory in time and use the quantum realm to get to it.
That makes sense. Everything ties together.
That's my biggest prediction for the movie. That's really the only thing I can even begin to predict.
All right. Well, thanks for that, RJ. Appreciate that. Chance, you get the final word on this one. What's next?
Okay, so a lot of things that I was thinking could happen have already been said. I think we're gonna see. I think we're gonna see some alternate dimensions. I think we're gonna see some time travel. I do have a theory. This is someone that actually Paul Yama brought it to me. He's like, what if the people who faded away, like they're not, what if they're not dead? What if they're just like in like an alternate dimension? So that's a possibility. But I will say, no matter what happens,
I'm hoping
what happens, no matter what happens throughout the beginning of the movie, throughout the movie, I'm gonna double down on the ending. I think it's going to end with whoever, like them being Thanos, and then someone just destroying Infinity Stones. But in doing that, they're going to accidentally alter the fabric of space-time, and then we're gonna get all these new whisperings of like heroes and abilities that we've never even heard of. Like they're gonna change the universe, like in all facets, and that is how we're gonna introduce all these new characters from the X-Men and the Fantastic Four and Galactus and all that. So I think and with the destruction of the Infinity Stones, that's gonna cause the integration. That's gonna be like the genesis of the integration of the Fox Marvel characters.
That's that's not too far, because like Jeremy's alluded to so far, is in the Infinity Gauntlet comic, Nebula's not in her right mind when she gets the thing.
Yeah, she's out of it
all over the place. So integrating realities when somebody else gets that thing, yeah, you could all of a sudden see the X-Men pop up and go, what? We've never heard of you guys before, and all of a sudden they're in the same universe, in the same place, and you start screwing around that. That's not that's pretty badass, Chance. That's a pretty decent prediction. So okay, guys. Well, I just want to thank.
Before we move on, can I bring up like one last question about Infinity War?
Yeah, man.
All right. What I want to throw out is who do you think is the MVP of the movie aside from Thanos? Because that's kind of the easy answer. Who's the MVP of the movie? Sandy, I'll go to you first. Because your show.
Wow. Who do I
can tell you who the LVP is.
What's that?
And that's
Star-Lord.
The least valuable player.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Star-Lord.
I was gonna say MVP.
Fuck you.
You pulled a Tony Stark, man. All you had to do was keep your cool.
I was gonna say MVD, most valuable douche, with Star-Lord.
Star-Lord gets too much hate, but I'm not here to fight that. So, Sandy, who do you think is the MVP of the movie? At least for you. Who's your MVP of the movie?
Okay, so my MVP of the movie started from the beginning and to the end. And other than Thanos, I believe that this story was Thor's story as well. I thought Thor went through so much at the beginning. After such a heroic ending to Thor Ragnarok, to be completely decimated, to see his best friend, his adopted brother, his entire ship destroyed and sent off into space, for him to come back as badass as he did throughout that whole movie several times, to do the things that he did, for me, he's my absolute MVP of the whole movie.
Okay. RJ, who's actually I'll go next. My MVP of the movie This is a hard one because there's so many characters I love. My favorite character as far as heroes go, I think mine is Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange, I thought like he had some of the best action, he had some of the best one-liners.
God damn
He
it,
was
Chance.
arguably the biggest. You can say Doctor Strange. He was
You stole
arguably the
mine.
biggest badass of the movie. And, like seriously, like every time he was on screen, I thought he owned that scene, and I really thought this is the best Cumberbatch. I really loved Cumberbatch in the first Doctor Strange. I thought this was his best as the character. Like just some of the line deliveries he has are some of my favorite in the entire movie. So for me, it's Doctor Strange.
Nice.
Jeremy.
Who's next?
Jeremy, we'll go to you
Okay,
next.
sorry, I didn't hear you. Yeah, for me, it's also Doctor Strange because I think that important moment where he sees all the possible outcomes, I think that's going to really play into what happens next. Like, what did he see, and what did he see, and what did he know, and why did he spare Tony at the end when he said he wasn't going to? You know, I think all of that's really important, and I think it's kind of the key to the movie in a certain way, and I just think he's a great character. But since you already took Doctor Strange, I'll say my other one, which is the emotional MVP of the movie, the one that to me is really the heart of the movie and makes it more than just a bunch of cool action, and that's Gamora. I think Gamora really was, you know, the emotional core tying in with Thanos and what he was doing and the cost of everything, and I think that to me really made the movie resonate a little more. So those are kind of my two standouts.
Perfect.
And RJ.
Hold on, before RJ jumps in there, I just want to jump on the Doctor Strange thing for a second. I think you're both right on Doctor Strange. Thor's still my MVP, but I think him giving up the Time Stone and sparing Tony, I absolutely believe that was part of the 14 million that he saw was the only one, and that he had to do both of those things in order for it to happen the way it's supposed to happen. So, no, great pick, you guys. I love that pick. So, RJ,
I will also say Thor showing up a Stormbreaker in Wakanda was also my biggest fist pump moment. That was fucking sweet. And RJ,
I also think Scarlet Witch was pretty badass. You know, even though
she was
short lived.
we won't kill you, but we might. We don't have
RJ,
but we will.
First of all, for future Inner Geekdom matches, it's actually 14,605,000. Just saying. So it's just for future Inner Geekdom matches.
Nice.
But
you know I'm using that.
Of course, you got to. That's obviously going to be one of the Inner Geekdom questions that is going to come out of this movie. Easy. But for MVP, I gotta say Doctor Strange was the first one that came to mind too. I mean, he starts it off with a bang. I mean, he's mad when he tells Tony how it is that first time. Like, granted, he went against his word, but when him and Tony are having that standoff, and he's like, if it's between you or the kid or protecting this stone, I will not hesitate to let you die. Man, I was like, that man knows his job like better than anyone here, because like Tony could have gone back to Earth, but no, he's like, no. Protecting the stones is the main concern, not actually fighting Thanos, which we have proven we cannot do. Yet you still want to go after this guy. No. But I digress. And you know what? My girlfriend brought up an interesting thing. Why didn't Doctor Strange just sling ring back to Earth? I'm sorry, but it made me think, actually, why he didn't just sling ring back to Earth once he was free. I assume he dropped it in the fight, maybe. Like his sling ring fell off.
No, he had it at some point, but I don't think you can go like. I think sling rings might have like a distance something, or maybe it's
that's
like
what I was thinking.
change between atmospheric pressures or something. There's got to be a reason he can't sling ring back to.
Yeah, I figured it was something like that. It was like a distance thing.
Because remember, like they couldn't do Bruce got back because Heimdall used the last amount of energy to do the Bifrost to get him back to Earth. So yeah, I think that Doctor Strange has earthly limitations to how far he can teleport and make gates there. But
and it wasn't my girlfriend, it was my best friend when we actually watched it the second time, because he brought it up when it happened. We were like, why doesn't he just go home? Why is he asking for the ship? But I do have to give one honorable mention though, because not a lot of people think about this, but I heard it happened at the premiere. It happened at my movie, and I know it happened at one other that someone has told me about. There is only one hero who got a ovation when they showed up on screen, and that was Captain America. And
That's
like
great.
any other time a superhero showed up, everyone was just like silently celebrating. But when Captain America stepped out of that shadow, everyone in the theater.
Definitely the best entrance of all the characters.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like I said,
except for Thor with Stormbreaker.
It happened at my premiere. I heard it happened at the world premiere in Los Angeles. That was the only ovation that the movie got. Well, besides the end, but like a random ovation in the middle of the movie. Captain America got it. And my friend said it happened at his viewing of it too. And we both saw it opening night. We both saw it Thursday night.
Nice.
So I got to give it up to that man barely says a word, but as soon as he shows up, just yes, that beard.
All right.
Nice.
Now, I see the floor back to you, Sandy.
All right, thanks. So that was a great ad there, Chance. Thanks for bringing that up. Okay, guys, we are going to move away from Infinity War this time. We've exhausted our well, and we haven't exhausted. We could probably go on for another hour talking about Infinity War.
Probably could.
But we're gonna move. We're gonna move on to what's coming up, and the big movie that's coming up in the next week or so is Deadpool 2. From all the trailers and all the TV spots we've gotten so far, it looks to be just as funny and just as irreverent as the first one. It has my favorite mutant of all time in comic books and movies and TV cartoons of all time. Cable is my favorite mutant of
I thought you
all
were going to say Peter. Totally thought you were going to say Peter.
No, not Peter. He's got to get some powers first. No, so I've been looking forward to this movie a lot. I know there were some changes with the writing team and the directing team going forward, but I still think this is going to be a solid movie. What are your guys' predictions? Not box office yet, but what are your guys' predictions for what's going to happen in this movie? And let's start with RJ this time.
Man, that's a tough one because I haven't given Deadpool much thought. Not that I don't love Deadpool, but just with the Infinity War stuff, I've been trying to rattle that stuff around my head. So it's still taking me a while. Like I said, I just saw it the second time. I feel like I need to watch it one more time before I can really dedicate myself to other things coming out. But Deadpool 2, I mean, it looks great. The trailers are awesome. Trailers always getting me laughing. It's going to be fun to see Josh Brolin in another villain role, just to see how he's gonna pull that off. It looks it's kind of the same worries as the first Deadpool. You know, I hope they're not showing us all the funny stuff in the trailers. They did it the first time. Excuse me. They did it the first time, so I'm going to assume they're not going to do it this time. As for what's going to happen, I think, I don't know. I don't really have anything to predict. Like I'm not sure even to how to guess what might happen. It's going to be a good movie. It's going to make its money.
All right, we'll bring up that. We'll jump right into that then. If you don't have any predictions movie wise, what's your
I don't, unfortunately.
What's your box office prediction for its opening weekend?
Opening weekend.
So remember, it's not this coming up weekend. It's the weekend of the 13th.
Right. Trying to think what else will come out, like what the counter programming is for Deadpool 2. And it's still rated R, so that always has to be taken into consideration. I'll say 175 for opening weekend.
Okay.
Really?
I think that's
wow. Okay.
Now, just to let you guys know, its opening day is Wednesday, the 16th of May. So it's going to have an entire long weekend, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th. It's the first 5-day weekend of.
Okay, I'll take it up 5 million for that extra day. I'll take it up to 180. I'll give it that extra day, 180. Because damn, it was a 5-day weekend. Good.
All right, Chance, what do you got here? What do you got for me?
All right, so as far as the prediction for the movie, so it looks like it's taking some elements from Terminator 2, where like that kid played by Julian Dennison, who is an absolutely brilliant young actor. If you want proof, go watch Hunt for the Wilder People, which is a fantastic film. I think he's going to be someone important, someone that is instrumental in the destruction of the future, which is why Cable wants to come back and kill him. And, for some reason or another, Deadpool, I feel there's going to be a little father-parentage subplot between Deadpool and Vanessa, which is why he feels the need to protect this kid. And that's why he starts the X-Force. But, so I think it's going to be Cable trying to kill this kid and Deadpool trying to protect this kid. But there's going to be some, shade figure in the background that's going to cause Cable and Deadpool to team up. That's what we want to see from our Cable and Deadpool movie. We want to see them teaming up and then fighting a bad guy together, just like they did in the comics. But as far as opening, 5-day week, I'm trying to see what the competition is for right now. Because I don't think... nothing much. And it's coming out in, not this weekend, but the weekend after. I think because of that, and I think because, the Avengers hype is going to die down at that point, I'm going to go a little under RJ. I'm going to say 170. Because, I think the rated R... I think everybody who loved Deadpool the first time is going to go back and check this one out, no question. I think all the goodwill the first movie built up is going to, be repeated, plus all the great the great ad campaign is going to factor into that. But I also think that I think if it's as good as the first one, which for all of his purposes we're hearing it is, it's when word of mouth's going to catch on, more people, it's going to attract more of an audience, and I think it's going to have more appeal overall. So I think domestic is going to open at 170.
Nice. Good prediction. Jeremy.
Yeah, I mean, like RJ, I'm not as invested in the world of Deadpool. I haven't really been following it that much, but I watched the trailer and I was a little confused because I wasn't expecting Cable to be as much of a villain as he seems to be from the trailer. So my prediction is that there's going to be a turn and they're going to end up on the right side, the same side by the end of it. And, the buddy cop thing that we kind of have in the comics is going to come into play at a certain point. I think that's going to be really fun. I also think, obviously, they're setting up the X-Force, and so they're going to set up those characters and have some spin-off potential there. So that's going to be fun. In terms of the box office, I'm a little more skeptical. I'm going to say 140 domestic for the weekend, which is still really great for an R-rated film. I just think with everything else, with Avengers still being in theaters and everything else that we have this summer, I don't think it's going to quite hit that high. But I'll just put it a little lower at 140, which will still be pretty fantastic for Deadpool.
Yeah. No, great. That's those are perfect. I will end this particular portion of the conversation with my predictions of this movie. I think this movie is going to stick to its original doctrine from the first movie. It's going to be raunchy. It's going to be funny. It's going to be R-rated. Yeah. There's going to be F-bombs. There's going to be ball shots. There's going to be, there's the dick humor. There's going to be fart humor. There's going to be all kinds of anything that will bring you back to being a 7-year-old boy. You're gonna love this movie to death. I am well versed in this whole. I still own New Mutants '97, which is the first appearance of Cable. I know exactly who he is in history and why he's as important as he is in comics. But if they don't bring any of that up and it's just a Deadpool Cable buddy cop kind of story like you guys are talking about, I'll be fine with that. I think Josh Brolin proved himself as Thanos, that he can be that menacing person that Cable needs to be. But Cable also has a heart, and I think that's eventually going to win through, and I think we're going to get a really funny movie. I love some of the choices that they've made, having Bedlam, played by Terry Crews, and the actress who's playing Domino is slipping my mind right now, but she's
Zazie Beetz.
Pardon me?
Zazie Beetz.
Zazie Beetz, perfect, yeah, and then a couple. One of the only other character that I really know for sure is Shatterstar, which if you knew anything from New Mutants and X-Force, he's a major part of that. So it's going to be interesting to see who the rest of the team is. But I think that it's going to be a very fun movie, and it's going to be a nice little palate cleanse because you're going to have Infinity War here for a couple of weeks. Then you're going to have this one big weekend with Deadpool coming out. It's going to make all its money there because then the next weekend we've got Solo. And I think Solo will chew up most of its money. Now we're making the box office predictions. We got it kind of all over the place here. But I'm going to, I'm actually going to be a little bit more reserved than even Jeremy is.
Yeah.
I'm actually going for 125 mil over the 5-day weekend. Not because I don't think it's going to be a good movie. I do think that there is a point in time where parents and people have to go and say, we just spent $2.4 billion on the Avengers in 2 weeks or whatever. And another Star Wars movie is coming out right afterwards. And we've got and then Jurassic Park and Meg, all these other. At some point, somebody is going to have to pull the wallet away and say, no. No.
So you think it's gonna do less than the first Deadpool?
Do I think it's going to do less?
Okay, well, you're saying 125, so you think it's going to do less than the first one?
I do, and the only reason I think it's going to do less than the first Deadpool is because where it is. Deadpool, remember when it opened up last time, what was it, February? February had zero competition to go up against it. They smashed themselves right into the summer blockbuster package, and for it to think that it's going to make its money, it's going to make its money. To think it's going to blow up like the first one did, I will be pleasantly surprised and happy if I'm wrong. But 125 is what my prediction is going to be. All right, guys. Well, that's going to bring us to the end of another episode of Full Metal Melting Pot. When we come to you next time, we will have another group of topical questions to talk about, and hopefully some familiar returning faces, and maybe a couple of surprises here and there that I've got working on for the next episode. So thank you very much for joining in. Like and share this, and come and see all of the content that we do and share upon on Full Metal Media on Facebook, Full Metal Media on YouTube, Full Metal Media on Twitter. Check us out. Also, most of us that you can see here play or do some type of stuff on Worldwide Movie Games. You can also find that sitting out on Facebook and YouTube as well. And take a look at all the Take 3 stuff that's going on too. They're doing some really amazing stuff, including posting up a new trivia match that just dropped onto YouTube today, where the questions were written by our very own Jeremy Adams. That man right there.
The rundown schmodown.
Rundown schmodown, exactly. So that's it from Sandy the Sandman Robinson. RJ, you got anything you need to plug? What do you want to talk about?
I'll plug in my phone real quick. That's about it. Was that what we were talking about, or did I just completely misread that situation?
You just misread the whole thing.
Oh, I apologize. That kind of plug. Okay. Not the dirty kind. Okay.
Not hair plug.
Damn. Okay.
Hopefully with Jeremy back, we will be getting back to nostalgia goggles.
Yep.
Jeremy has been busy, so I don't blame him. He recently got married. Congratulations again. He's been busy, but we're going to get back to that for all of you who are wondering where it is. Other than that, you can find me on Full Metal Media, hosting sometimes with other things we do, with matches, with other shows we do. You can find me competing sometimes, eventually on Full Metal. I don't know. Maybe I'll come back. I'm not sure yet. I still kind of suck, but I'm getting better because Jeremy tests a lot of questions on me.
You're getting good, RJ.
You can find me at Jack of All Trivia. I still do Inner Geekdom over there. Just go watch my latch match. It was really fun. And that's about it. That's all I do.
Perfect. Chance, where can the kids find you?
Well, here, first and foremost, I'm mostly hosting my show on this channel, Full Metal 5. You can also find me Twitter and Instagram at ChanceWars_91. Stardust Letterbox at ChanceT83. My YouTube channel, Chance the Critic, and also I'm prepping to start a new show that I'm really excited to finally get going. So be on the lookout for that.
Nice. And Jeremy, last but not certainly least, what would you like to add?
Jeremy Paul Adams on Facebook, Jeremy Paul Adams on YouTube, and all the places that have already been mentioned, Worldwide Movie Games and Full Metal Media. And yes, we'll have our show Nostalgia Goggles with me and RJ up and running again soon here. So you can look forward to that.
Awesome. Well, that's been another episode of Full Metal Melting Pot. Thank you so much for joining in, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure of mine. And as I say at the end of all of these, have fun, watch movies.